May is Celiac Disease Awareness Month. Despite popular belief, celiac disease is a serious genetic autoimmune disease, not the latest fad diet. Did you know there are more than 300 symptoms of celiac disease, and symptoms can be different from person to person? I have more coming up.
We've heard from so many of you, our Today's Health and Wellness podcast listeners, that you are having a difficult time leaving a rating and review for the podcast in iTunes. So here's an easy way to do it. Please review mypodcast.com/Today's Health for an easy step-by-step tutorial to follow. www.pleasereviewmypodcast.com/Today's Health.
Celiac disease is a serious genetic autoimmune disease. It's triggered by consuming a protein called gluten, which is found in wheat, barley, and rye. With me on this episode of today's Health and Wellness podcast is Ashley Chard, Senior Brand Manager from Wholesome. Thanks for joining me on this special episode spotlighting celiac disease.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Sure. Hey, let's talk about why it's important to recognize celiac disease and the Awareness Month coming up here in May.
It's very important to recognize the month and come together to raise awareness about it because it's the most common autoimmune disease. 1 in 133 Americans are estimated to have celiac disease, according to the National Foundation of Celiac Awareness. It's also believed that 83% are not diagnosed. So those people are probably suffering in some way, and there's a lot of cascading complications that come with undiagnosed celiac disease. So it's very important to make sure that everyone has an understanding of what it is and goes to their doctor, goes to get the proper testing, takes the proper steps to make sure that they're taking care of the issue.
I've read recently and heard talk as well that it can be misdiagnosed, or it's very hard to diagnose. As I mentioned earlier, tons of symptoms that may go unnoticed without the right conversation with your doctor.
Exactly. A lot of the symptoms are things that we kind of live with on a day-to-day basis if we're not really paying close attention, things like headaches, things like upset stomachs. So those kinds of things, on a longer term can actually mean something bigger. And when people understand what celiac disease is and how it can affect their lives, that's more of, they have the education to make sure they go out there and talk to their doctor about it.
It seems as though, good that it's been pointed that it's gluten that really flares this up. And the gluten-free substitutions are immense anymore. Let's go over a few of those. I think it's just fantastic, the options are out there for gluten-free.
It really is. Even 10 years ago, the options weren't as broad as they are right now. And there's so many good options. We didn't mention this, but really the only way to treat celiac disease is to be 100% gluten-free diet. So that's the only option for treatment. So it's super important that somebody who is diagnosed with celiac disease understands that and has the right access and tools and products out there to be able to enjoy food still.
Right. And I think that's where Wholesome comes in with, if nothing else, the variety as well as the taste options.
Yes. Yeah. So at Wholesome, our motto is actually taste first. So when we're developing products, we won't make it if we don't think it tastes really good. And so as we go into our gluten-free line, we actually make sure we don't make it unless it tastes as good as the conventional, as the gluten-filled products. So we want to make sure that people who are eating their gluten-free diets do not have to sacrifice any taste and don't feel like they have to change much about how they enjoy food.
All right. Talk about some of the options that Wholesome offers up.
Yeah. So if you want to save time, you don't want to be in the kitchen baking things from scratch, Wholesome and Wholly Gluten Free really offer a lot of options. We have a gluten-free pie shell, which I might be a little biased, but it is the best gluten-free pie shell.
I agree with you on that. That is excellent.
Yeah.
I would rather have that than a normal pie, a pie shell. It's great. Yeah, I totally agree.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. And I love to make, quiches. I eat these as well. I love to make quiches, pies, chicken pot pies, things you don't always think about that it's super easy to do. You keep them in your freezer, you take them out for 10 minutes, thaw those, and they're ready to go into your recipe. We also have a gluten-free pizza dough ball. So this is a frozen dough ball that you would find in your gluten-free freezer section that you can, again, let it thaw, this time probably for a couple hours on the counter, And then you can roll it out into a pizza crust. You could still have fun pizza nights where everyone is, rolling out the dough, putting their own toppings on pizzas. That's really awesome. But that also can create things like stromboli, calzones, flatbreads, garlic knots, things that are not always easy to substitute and to have a great substitute for when you're on a gluten-free diet. The pizza dough ball really covers that.
I can imagine that Wholly Gluten-Free and the whole line of products and offerings must have gone through a lot of trial and error to come up with the great offerings that you've got.
Yes, there's a lot of trial and error, and a lot of it happens in our office.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's a great place to be some days because we have a commercial kitchen in our office where some of our recipe developers are working on different things. So who better to test on than some of our team? So just for example, the other day we're working on our gluten-free brownies, and we made an icebox cake. This is actually coincided with the birthday. So it was a mint chocolate icebox cake, and we actually used our gluten-free brownies layered in between the mint cream, and it was
wow.
I'll tell you, it was amazing.
I can't imagine.
It's not a bad place to be when we're testing products.
No, it's not. And you mentioned the brownie aspect too. We've gone that direction at home as well with some gluten-free brownie mixes, and I think it's better than regular brownie mixes. I really do. Yeah,
the brownies we have. That's another. If you want to just pull something off the shelf, we make the gluten-free brownies, and those are really, really good. I agree with you. They're better than regular brownies.
They seem to be less filling and such. Yeah, they're great.
Hard to stop eating them, but.
Well, I know you've got a website and lots of social around it. Let's talk about all the options and opportunities that listeners can find out more about.
Yeah, so you can always go to our website, wholesome.com. There's going to be some great recipes on there. And we're also on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest. And we have a lot of other ideas for gluten-free baking and baking in general on those handles as well. Our handle is @wholesome.
And some grocery lines.
Yeah, always look in the freezer section. If you have a gluten-free freezer section, that's where these would be. Sometimes they're integrated, depends on the store, but they're going to be in Whole Foods, Lucky's, Fresh Time, the Fresh Market, and they'll probably be at a couple independents around if you have a favorite natural food store as well.
Well, and I think also the opportunity is there. If you don't find it, ask. And if they get enough asks, they may start inquiring, hey, we need to carry this line. We're getting a lot of people asking about it. That's how that stuff happens at grocery stores.
Yes, 100%. You bring up a great point. That's always great to do. Because when the grocery stores are going through the same thing. And so many people, my friends who get diagnosed, always ask me, what are the best products? And so the grocery stores don't always know either. So they're always looking for, their customers to come with feedback on their favorite brand so that they know who to carry.
Exactly. Well, thanks for taking a few minutes to talk about this. I think it's well worth the time, and it, as well as it spotlights some great offerings from Wholly Wholesome and Wholly Gluten-Free products that fit the need for the Celiac Disease Awareness Month.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brett, for giving us the opportunity.
You bet.